Well, hello, everybody. It's me, Stephen Billings, of course, over here, Andrew Cabral,
Hello,
and we are
everyone.
here. We're here back to do an Imprint review. We're a little behind, so we're going to be catching up. We got 3 months of some stuff we got from Imprint Films. Thanks, as always, Imprint, for sending us some stuff to do some reviews. And so we got some releases from June, July, and August to talk about. So, yeah, without further ado, I guess we'll start. We'll go in order, I guess. And I have a release here from the June releases. And this one is a big one. I was excited to get this one. And that is the Martin Scorsese Films of Faith, which is a trilogy that includes The Last Temptation of Christ, Kundun, and Silence. Now, I will say I still haven't gotten a chance to watch Kundun. That's one I have not seen yet. I believe you've seen it, Andrew.
I have not seen it actually.
Really?
Coincidentally, you and I are both on the same page where that is
Okay.
one of the few Martin Scorsese films I actually haven't seen.
Yeah.
So,
Got to get on
yeah,
it with this
we're
set.
we're
I
in,
got
we're in the
yeah.
same boat.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's I don't feel so bad then. But so yes, this has the three films all on Blu-ray. Of course, this has got the great hard case here. You can slip it off here, and you got three films, and then you got a nice. This one's actually got a nice hardback book in it. So, upgraded on the book there for the Scorsese set. So, but yeah, you got the three films, and here we go. So you got the classic artwork there. And there's Kundun and Silence, which to me was the one I was really excited to get. This not only just because I own this film already on Blu-ray, but it was mostly because there's some features here that we didn't get with their initial release. And one of our favorites is does a feature in here. I believe Kat Ellinger has a feature work on this, talking about this. So let me make sure. Uh,
And the movie
Silence.
Silence, yes, and the movie
Yeah.
Silence was a long-term passion project for Martin Scorsese, which took him many years to create. Um,
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese not is has always been someone who's delved back into his faith, specifically growing up as Italian Catholic in New York. I think
Yeah.
that's been a basis for a lot of his films, specifically his more spiritual ones like Silence, which I think is criminally underrated
Oh
or
God,
just not
it's
talked about
yeah.
a
And
lot.
before I forget, Callinger did a feature on Last Temptation. So, but yeah. Silence to me. I saw it in the theaters. I believe you did too, Andrew.
I did.
And it just blew me away, dude. I,
I
I
was
was
I was one of like, I don't know, 5 people in the movie
three.
theater.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and you were talking about Last Temptation, and which I believe is in that box set, right?
Yeah. Last
Yeah,
Temptation.
Last
Yeah.
Temptation, Silence, and Kundun. Last Temptation being probably his most controversial film,
Yeah.
starring
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe as Jesus, Harvey Keitel as Judas, um, and a host of others.
New York Judas.
Yes, with the accent and everything.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's a film came out in the '80s, and it's kind of what you assume. It's a film about the life of Jesus, told by Martin Scorsese. Um,
But it has a yeah. But I think the controversialness about it is just some of the points of view of the interpretation of Jesus's life, and then
mm,
it kind of has a little bit of a twist on it near the end that kind of takes us in a different
it's
direction.
kind of a what if scenario.
A what if?
A
Yes.
what if scenario, which for me, without going into it too much, is one of the most faith affirming kind of what ifs you could ever quite ponder. If
Yeah.
anything, I think Martin Scorsese reaffirms and emboldens the faith and life of Jesus and its importance in not only the lives of people, but I think from a historical perspective as well. But what are the special features on that? Because I know we got
Yeah.
a Criterion release of that here, and that one I know did not have much in the way of special features at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So Kat Ellinger did a new kind of appreciation, a video essay, as above, so below, the last temptation of Christ and the divine feminine. And then you have from Daniel Schweiger, he did a new interview. Um, it's called "It Is Accomplished: Scoring the Last Temptation of Christ." There's also um, "The Gospel According to John and Andrew." Interview with production designer John Beard and art director Andrew Sanders. And then there's also film scholar Ian Christie on The Last Temptation of Christ. So, and then there's probably some old featurettes in here as well. So there's a lot of good new stuff here for this release. So it's well worth, yes, this isn't a 4K or anything like that, but the movie looked good already in its Blu-ray, edition. So, but you get a lot more context, a lot more kind of just good talk about this. I watched the Kat Ellinger one because she's a favorite of ours. So, and it was really good. So, but yeah, that's cool. And of course, with Kundun, still need to watch it. But it also has some new features as well, at least a couple here. So they as usual, Imprint is giving more to the releases on the feature end. So, but Silence does have some new features. It has scholar Ian Christie on Silence, Scorsese's Journey into Silence. I think is some old featurettes. So, and then there's some a new audio commentary with some historians on here. So, yeah, Silence was. It's just such a like an escape. Like that movie is like it almost feels like a singular movie in Scorsese's filmography that's like really different than everything else to me. I think he pays so much homage to Japanese cinema in that movie, that it just, even though the themes are there, the film, how it's presented and its tone kind of feels different than everything else to me.
Mhm.
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's certainly his most dramatically serious film, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? With Scorsese, there's usually kind of a balance of energy and just a certain sense of style, and his films have a certain type of great pacing to them because you're going along on some type of interesting ride. And in this film, you are as well, but it's more of a just a doldrums through the crisis of faith
Yeah.
that the character that Andrew Garfield is playing, who is like a Jesuit priest making his way through Japan to find
Him and
another priest,
Adam
and
Driver.
Adam Driver as well.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they're on a journey to find another priest who has kind of lapsed in his
Well,
priesthood.
he's gone missing.
Yeah, he's
He's
gone
gone.
missing, portrayed
Yeah.
by Liam Neeson
Yeah.
of all people,
Yeah.
and it's a rather interesting kind of journey, existential journey through all of that. But deadly serious, beautifully shot, wonderfully
Yeah.
done, fantastically acted, powerful film. But it's
It
not a
is.
film for everyone. Like I said, it's kind of deathly serious. It's not really what you come to know from a lot of Scorsese films. I think this was the film he had done after Wolf of Wall Street, which is
Yes.
a polar opposite film to this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Polar
I mean,
opposite.
I think that was part of the reason why nobody saw it. They saw that this was like a very serious and it mostly in subtitle movie. Mostly in
Because
Japanese.
they're in Japan. Yes.
Yes. So I don't think it turned people on.
Yeah, it's a historical period piece as well.
Yeah.
So that's also kind of very specific to certain people's tastes. But I, of course, really like those types of movies, so it worked
It
for
would be it
me.
would be it would be interesting if the movie came out today with something like Shogun being very
Mm.
popular now. That
Coincidentally, I think it takes place during that same time period
yeah,
as that television series Shogun, the critically acclaimed series.
yeah.
I believe early 17th century was when Shogun takes place. So it's around that time period, and there's a lot of things in that series that kind of cross over with um, Silence. The fact that these are
Yeah,
Portuguese Jesuit priests.
yeah,
Portugal had a big kind of foothold in that area at that time. Interesting film. Interesting film. Good box set. Good box set
it
for one
is.
Martin
It,
Scorsese.
you know,
One
it,
of our
uh,
favorites.
it is, and I think this is a good starter pack if somebody doesn't own these movies yet.
Mm.
You should get this set. I would understand why somebody might not want to pay the money to get because this is an expensive set, and you might already own Last Temptation from Criterion.
You may even own Silence by
Might even
itself.
already own a Blu-ray of
You
Silence.
may even own
Kunden's the
Kundun by
one that's
itself.
kind of, huh?
You may even own Kundun by itself.
You could for
Kundun,
sure. These are all
has
available.
yeah, Kundun has been put out already by Kino back in 2019,
Yeah,
and that movie is about the life of the Dalai Lama,
yeah.
the Dalai Lama. So dealing with religion in that regard. Um, and it's a movie, like I said, I've never seen. I don't know why it's taken me so long to watch. I think 'cause I've always wanted to buy it. That's why. That set came with quite a few extra features as well,
Yeah.
in and of itself.
Yeah. But I think if you don't own these films, this might be a good place to go, and Imprint's usually always region free, so you don't have to worry about region problems. So,
Right.
um,
Right.
but all right, so
Yeah.
let's go over to the July stuff you got.
So a good transition going from Scorsese to Harvey Keitel with
Mm,
the Film Focus box set from July. Um, and you know, Harvey Keitel obviously worked a lot with Martin Scorsese, but of course he had done his own things separate from him. And Imprint put out a bunch of these Film Focus box sets when it comes to different actors and actresses. I'm thinking of Jessica Lange. I'm thinking of Jennifer Connelly. I'm thinking of Gene Hackman. They've done one for Gene Hackman. They've done directors focus box sets as
mm.
well for people like Walter Hill, uh,
Sidney Lumet.
Sidney Lumet, Sidney J. Fury. They've done a bunch, but Harvey Keitel. So this is a 6 film box set here. As you can see, all in black, which is kind of sleek. I think all of them are black. So they all
Yeah.
have black with like black and white pictures on the front. On the side, you've got Harvey Keitel over here. And the movies in this set are Bad Lieutenant, The Young Americans, Dangerous Game, Imaginary Crimes, Clockers, and Holy Smoke. And on the back here, there's this little card that's held on very gingerly by some of that gloppy glue that they like to use, so it kind of falls off my sets. I don't know if it falls off your sets, for those of you who have it.
Sometimes, yeah, yeah.
Frustrates the heck out of me because I like to keep them on, but the glue's gonna fade eventually anyways. So in typical fashion with these box sets, it's top loading, comes off the top, and you've got all of them in individual clear cases here, as well as a booklet, I would say. Let me bring the booklet out first. So the booklet has similar, actually the exact artwork as the box, and then on the back you have a color picture of Harvey Keitel himself. Rather thin booklet. I don't think it's too thick. Yeah, I was trying to get like a page count in there, but I don't think I have a page count in my notes here. Anywho, so you get this booklet. I believe a booklet comes in every single one of these sets. So let me bring these out of the top. And we've got all of the movies individual. Bad Lieutenant, which is the Abel Ferrara film. This has been released a bunch of times.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we've got a regular Blu-ray release from years ago. We've got a Blu-ray release from Kino and a 4K release from Kino. So this has gotten a lot of love. Then you have The Young Americans. Young Americans here. I'm hitting the microphone, very professional of me. Dangerous Game, which is another Abel Ferrara film. This just got another release here as well. I believe this just got one of the releases from Vinegar Syndrome's what's their sub label. I think a sub label just put out. I think it was
Yeah.
Cinematograph put out
Gotcha.
this game this as well. And then we've got Imaginary Crimes, and then we've got Clockers, the Spike Lee film,
I have that one.
and Holy Smoke, the Jane Campion film. Which was exciting for me because I've always wanted to get more Jane Campion in my collection. So luckily, this came in there. Starring a young Kate Winslet. I think this was the film she had done after Titanic. Yeah, this came out in
No.
1999. Titanic was 1997. As I lose my voice already, we haven't even started the game here.
Mm.
But starting back from the beginning, Bad Lieutenant. Talk about a movie about having faith-based themes in here. Uh, Harvey Keitel plays a cop in New York, and he's dealing with a murder that takes place at a church. Dark movie. It's
Yeah.
Abel Ferrer. It's going to be very, very dark. As you can see here, full frontal Harvey Keitel right on the cover and right in the movie as well. Yeah, if you've seen the film and you know Abel Ferrer, you kind of know what you're getting into with this. When it comes to special features, you got an audio commentary by Abel Ferrer himself and the director of photography, Ken Kelsch. It all happens here. Abel Ferrer in the making of Bad Lieutenant, all on the line. Interview with director Abel Ferrer from 2024. That's a new special feature there. Forgive Me, Father, Channeling the Lord interview with actor Paul Hipp from 2024. That's new. Entirely Uncompromised, A Dangerous Game and Bad Lieutenant interview with composer Joe Delia from 2024. Editor Provocateur, Crafting the Chaos of Bad Lieutenant interview with editor Anthony Redmond from 2024. And then you got Building Bad, The Breaking of Bad Lieutenant interview with producer Deanna Phillips from 2024. All new stuff. I think all stuff exclusive to this release. I would assume so. Um, that remains to be seen. Next, we've got the movie called Young Americans, an interesting film. It's an interesting film. It's directed by Danny Cannon. It's a movie that what happens is there's this gangster kind of crime syndicate guy who moves from the United States to Scotland to England, and he kind of sets up shop there. But what he's doing is he is using like the he's corrupting the youth of the place in order to run his drugs and
Mm.
and commit crimes, stuff like that. So for some reason um they decide to bring Harvey Keitel over there to like help them out in their investigations and stuff. That's kind of that movie, and then he gets involved and all that kind of stuff. It's an interesting film. But we got audio commentary by film critic Bill Jambiri, The Outsider interview with director Danny Cannon, Youngblood interview with actor Craig Kelly. Those are all from 2024. That's all brand new stuff. No London I Recognize interview with producer designer Lawrence Dorman from 2024. The Lighting American interview with director of photography Vernon Layton from 2024, and then the Young Producer interview with producer Paul Tridgebits from 2024. So that's all new stuff. Next, like I said, Dangerous Game. Steven, I know you're a fan of movies about movie making.
Yes, I
This
am.
is one of them. It
Okay.
says and this is an interesting kind of movie starring not only Harvey Keitel but also Madonna, if I remember, is in this movie. Yes, Madonna
Madonna.
is in this movie, and Madonna and Harvey Keitel's characters have a bit of a tryst, a bit of a thing going on in this movie.
Hmm.
So Harvey Keitel is a filmmaker, and he's making this movie about this couple going through like marital turmoil, and but he's also having an affair with the star of the movie, portrayed by Madonna, if I remember correctly. Meanwhile, he's having issues, I think, in his own marriage that he's working with as well. Um, so it gets very complicated, as you can imagine.
Mm.
Not something that's completely lost if you're well aware of the history of filmmaking and things like that. Directors getting involved with their lead actresses is something that's gone on for many a time.
Yes.
Ingmar Bergman did it. Many others have done it as well. Um, but this movie, of course, has the Abel Ferrer darkness to it as well. There's these scenes that take place with um, the actors within the movie that they're making that are very like like dramatic when it comes to like domestic violence and domestic turmoil within a relationship, that are very eye-opening in this movie. So yeah, check this movie out if you haven't already. If you're a fan of Abel Ferrer, I recommend that. Then next we have Imaginary Crimes. Imaginary Crimes is a movie where Harvey Keitel plays a con artist father who has these two young daughters, portrayed by um, Elizabeth Moss from is that's the one that's in Mad Men, right, Steven?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Elizabeth Moss and Faruza Balk. And he's a father who he's a widower, So he's raising them by himself, but he's just a con artist who can he doesn't really hold a job. He's trying to do like get rich quick schemes. He's trying to screw people out of business deals, stuff like that. And meanwhile, the people who are being affected by his uh lack of consistent monetary structure are his two daughters. Especially Firuza Balk, who's trying to like go through school and make something of herself and things like that. Um, yeah, an interesting kind of film because it's all told from like her perspective. I think it's her looking back at her childhood. It's one of those framing mechanisms.
Yeah.
Not much in the way of special features on here. Audio commentary by critic A.S. Hamra. Crimes Confessional interview with director Anthony Drazen, and then Composing for Crimes interview with composer Stephen Endelman from 2024. I don't know if this has ever gotten a Blu-ray release before. Not quite sure. So we've got two more here, and we got Clockers. Coincidentally, Clockers was originally supposed to be directed by Martin Scorsese. He was a producer on this film, and he decided to make Casino instead of Clockers. And he asked Spike Lee if he wanted to do it, and Spike Lee directed it, obviously. And he did it a little bit different from what Scorsese was going to do because it's based off a book by I think Richard Price. Yeah, Richard Price, who wrote the book, and he took the perspective and put it onto someone else, to another character's perspective versus what the book is. The book is told from like the Harvey Keitel cop perspective, while the movie is kind of more told from the other perspective, like the drug dealer and
yeah, I was gonna say like the community.
The community perspective.
Yeah.
Great cast in this film.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, Harvey Keitel, John Turturro, Delroy Lindo, Mekhi Phifer. I think this is his first movie that Mekhi Phifer was ever in. Isaiah Washington, Keith David is in this film as well. Like I said, directed by Spike Lee. This movie is very much the basis for the television series The Wire. Very similar in that perspective. What ends up happening in this movie? Quick synopsis. Someone gets murdered, and the person who has kind of fessed up to it, the cops are kind of they're suspicious about it. They're like, this person doesn't have a rap sheet. He's not known to commit crimes at all. Now all of a sudden he's committing a murder. So they think it's the person's brother who did it. And that's who Harvey Keitel gets involved. And he's like kind of pressuring this kid to like, just admit that you did it, and all this kind of stuff. Meanwhile, the other kid is dealing with his own issues, but it's a Spike Lee film, well directed, well written. There's a great special feature on here um, with the writer of the book, kind of telling about the whole making of process. That was really cool. But I'll run these down. Audio commentary by film historian and filmmaker Daniel Kramer from 2024, Laying Back in the Cut interview with editor Sam Pollard from 2024, Plausible Fiction interview with screenwriter Richard Price, and then archival interviews with actors Mekhi Phifer, Delroy Lindo, and John Turturro, and director Spike Lee. Now, this has already been put out on DVD in the past and put out on Blu-ray by Kino here, but I actually have the old DVD, but I'm glad I'm able to upgrade it to that. And then finally here, we've got a Jane Campion film with, like I said, Kate Winslet and Harvey Keitel. Brief synopsis. Harvey Keitel he's one of those deprogrammers. He's someone who, if you've been in a cult, your family hires these deprogrammers to deprogram you, to kind of de-brainwash you. And that is what has happened in this movie. Is this family in Australia has hired, I think it's Australia. Yeah, Australia. Has hired Harvey Keitel to kind of deprogram Kate Winslet, who's been in a cult in India. And of course, things get complicated because that situation is always complicated. So that is Holy Smoke, Jane Campion. There's two audio commentaries here, one with film critic Alexandra Heller-Nicholas, one of our friends here on Chasing Labels. Audio commentary by writer Anna Campion, who is Jane Campion's sister, I believe, and Kate Winslet. And then reprogramming the deprogrammer, Harvey Keitel and Jane and Anna Campion's Holy Smoke video essay by programmer and archivist Elizabeth Purcell, and a Deprogramming Deprogrammers interview with documentary film director Mia Donovan. Those two are new. And the commentary by Alexander Hell Nicholas is new as well. So that is it from the Harvey Keitel box set. Uh, Pretty solid box set, like similar to kind of what Steven was saying about Martin Scorsese box set. Good place to start if you want to get into more kind of back catalog stuff of Harvey Keitel.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot of stuff in there I'm not familiar with, so
Yeah,
it's
most of these films
yeah,
I hadn't seen until I got this box set.
yeah,
Like I hadn't seen Holy Smoke, and I hadn't seen Imaginary Crimes, and I hadn't seen The Young Americans. Like I hadn't
yeah,
even heard of those movies. So a lot of good 90s Harvey Keitel stuff. When
yeah.
Harvey Keitel was kind of making a resurgence in his career. As we know, he was in Pulp Fiction in 1994 in a brief sequence there.
Reservoir Dogs is the thing that
And Reservoir Dogs definitely put him
yeah,
back
yeah,
on the
yeah,
map. So kind of, Tarantino put him in those two films, and that
yeah,
kind of like re-energized his career, I guess
yeah.
you could say, to where he was in a bunch of other films. He had worked with Jane Campion before in The Piano
Piano, yeah.
in the early 90s. So that was kind of a reunion
He
in
kinda
that
I
other
think he
film.
kinda fit he's stuck kinda in the indie realm for a while, and then I think the Scorsese films kinda brought him back to the mainstream a little bit more, and then, of course, he's, like, worked with Wes Anderson in recent times,
A lot of
and
Wes
Wes
Anderson.
and
Yeah.
he's kinda been all up in Wes Anderson stuff, which is still kinda the indie realm in a way.
Very much. He's kind of the king of the indie films, Wes Anderson.
Yeah, yeah, kinda, yeah, yeah. His movies are kinda big, but they're still kinda like
They're
nobody
gigantic ensemble.
they're big movies, but they only get small releases. You
Yes.
know you know?
Very true. Very
So,
true. So with that, we move on to August.
yes.
We move on to August. Let me set this aside here and grab these three August titles that I have. Very colorful. I got
Yeah.
two yellows and
Very
a
summery.
blue.
Very summery.
Very summary. So we should also mention that all of Imprint stuff is numbered, and they're all the way up to like the 340s, and I think with their newest batch, as of this recording, they're already up into the 360s in terms of releases, which is a lot. It is a lot. So we've got actually let me put these in order because my OCD is gonna kick me in the butt if I don't.
Mm.
We've got the movie Crossplot, we've got the movie Banning, and then we've got the movie Jessica. Uh, all one-word titles. I don't know if you caught that, Stephen. I don't
I
know if you
caught it,
caught
man.
that.
I caught it.
So let's
Yeah.
start with Crossplot, where this is essentially the precursor or the test run of what Roger Moore would look like as James Bond. That is basically the plot of this movie. It's a movie where Roger Moore is I think he works at an ad agency, and what
Mm.
happens is he brings in a model to uh for a campaign, for an ad campaign, and she ends up getting caught up in something, and he ends up getting caught up in that as well, and he kind of gets roped into it. So it's a suave advertising executive, Gary Penn, is living the good life, but the good life turns bad when someone tries to kill a beautiful model and frame him for the murder. That's how he gets involved.
Okay.
So imagine Don Draper, also known as John Hamm from Mad Men, having to be thrust in a James Bond scenario. That is what this movie is. And it's a lot of fun. It's an interesting, like, British thriller from that time. It came out in 1969, and I don't think he would take over as James Bond until the 70s with Live and Let Die, which would come a few years later. Like I said, that's why with the timing, that's the precursor to it. So in typical Imprint fashion, we have a slide out little like slip box here. We've got new artwork here. And then we got a list of special features here on the back with an audio commentary by Roger Moore biographer / talent agent Gareth Owen and film historian Henry Holland. Um, uh, Bond practice interview with director Alvin Rakoff, as like I just said, precursor to Bond. Off the charts interview feature with actors Norman Eshley, Michael Culver, Prudence Drage, and Stephen Garlick. A dressing down, the audio recollection by actor Francis Matthews, the new look 60s London Paternoster Square and London Wall, a personal view by Jonathan Wood, Restoring Crossplot featurette. These are, as I know, are all new features. And then
Nice.
we've got the usual clear case from them. Tiny little booklet here, almost like a leaflet, if you will. I think it's one of those big. Nope, it's a regular one. I thought it was one of those ones that fold out to like a giant poster, but no. And we've got some inner artwork here of characters or cast, more likely. There's Roger Moore wearing a customary suit. Yeah, it's called Crossplot. So that's that. Little Roger Moore action for you. A little British cinema from the late 60s. And it's got that swinking 60s vibe to it as well. So you get kind of that cultural mix in there too. But moving on from there, we've got Banning. We're going from Roger Moore to Richard Wagner.
Hmm.
Robert Wagner, sorry. Robert Wagner.
I was gonna say, hey, that's not right.
Yeah. So the plot of this is athlete Mick McDermott. Mick McDermott's playboy lifestyle has seen him kicked off the golf pro circuit when accused of match fixing. With the new name of Banning, he hustles from one country club and woman to another, leading to a high stakes tournament and a sudden death playoff for his life. Um, yeah, so Richard, I keep saying it, Steven. Robert Wagner plays this former golf pro who's in exile because he's been kicked out of golf for alleged match fixing, and he's kind of getting his revenge now by becoming the pro golfer at this hoity-toity country club, and he's kind of trying to get his revenge on the people who um got him involved in that. Essentially, a lot of things are unearthed, a lot of truths come out, stuff like that. What is not mentioned and what is maybe not known is that um Gene Hackman has a very small role in this film. He's in this film as well. Um, as but in the usual style, side box out, and then we've got I want to say original poster art here. And it says Banning, the truth about the women who go all out when they go for a man. And that's the one thing also about this movie is that Robert Wagner is a ladies' man. He just goes from like rich, wealthy woman at this country club to the next. He's kind of in a very James Bond-esque type of way, if you
Wait a
will.
second.
Yeah, he just kind of that's what he kind of does. Like all the women kind of throw themselves at
So
him.
is this month the like a
It's like
James Bond, the off-brand James Bond month or something?
what is interesting is that the next film is similar in that regard, where you have a very attractive person getting involved in romantic dalliances. So, but I'll get to that when I get to that in Jessica. But opening this up here, we've got once again, there's the disc, and there's inner artwork of the cast. There's everybody right there.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody. And then when it comes to special features here on the back, audio commentary by film historian Howard S. Berger and Steve Mitchell. That's brand new. A hole in one. Robert Wagner and Jill St. John. Remember Banning from 2024. That is brand new. And I watched that. That was fantastic. You got a brand new interview from both of them. And they ended up reuniting like decades later and ended up marrying each other. And I think they're married to this day as of this recording. Don't quote me on that. I don't know my celebrity romances as well as as some others. But yeah, that was very interesting. So they talked about like the making of that movie and all that kind of stuff and their relationship and whatnot at that time. And then decades later, it was very, very good. Extensive, very extensive. For those of you who don't know, Robert Wagner, I remember him in the Austin Powers film as he was number 2.
Number 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very. I remember him being in that from when I was younger. But we got another special feature here: members only, scoring, Banning, interview with author/film music historian John Burlingham on Quincy Jones' score for this movie. So Quincy Jones did the score for this movie. Very cool, very interesting film. It obviously it came out years and years earlier, but it's kind of reminiscent of Caddyshack minus the comedy, if you will.
Okay.
I kind of because it takes place at a country club and you see all of the different characters and their interactions with one another. That's kind of how Caddyshack was done. But obviously, Caddyshack had over the top eccentric characters like the Bill Murray sequences, like Rodney Dangerfield and even Chevy Chase. You don't quite get those characters in here. This is a more serious thing because it's dealing with a relatively more serious plot of like revenge and scheming and old paps, old truths coming to light and stuff like that. Yeah, it's an interesting film. Interesting film. But last here, and I wouldn't say least, but perhaps some would. And this is the movie Jessica, starring Angie Dickinson. Angie Dickinson plays a midwife in this film, and she moves to this rather remote, small Sicilian town, and it causes a ruckus. It causes a ruckus
Well,
because she is just unbelievable. That was my phone falling. If you heard that,
cool.
um, she is unbelievably beautiful, and all of the men in this small Sicilian village are just enamored with her,
She
and she's
is
not doing anything to to provoke them
really.
for
She's
those
not being
emotions. Sh-
too.
She's
I'm gonna
just
use it.
doing her job.
I'm gonna use a word here. She's not being too promiscuous.
No, no. There's only really one man that she wants to be involved with, and that's kind of the only one that she is really has any romantic intentions with. But every time the men see her, they're just falling over themselves, even in front of their wives, even in front of their wives.
It's
Like
kind of
they
like
have
that. What?
no shame whatsoever.
It's kind of like that movie. What's that movie we like? That has. God damn it. Melina. Melina. Is it
Oh yeah, the one with Um, oh my goodness, why is it what's crazy is I actually have that over here. I could pull it off my shelf. Um, but I know what you're talking about. It's the
yeah,
movie
yeah,
directed by Giuseppe Tornatore, like the same guy who directed Cinema Paradiso.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, it's very similar to that.
yeah.
Very
Where
similar to
she's
that.
just everybody, all the boys and the men just turn and look at her like, yeah, it's a very similar thing. Melina,
Yes. But I'm trying to remember who
the star, the girl, the woman.
yes, it's
She was
it,
just in
that
Beetlejuice.
yeah, I was just saying, why that whole sequence just keeps playing over and over again in my head. It's Monica Bellucci.
Monica Bellucci.
Monica Bellucci. So think of something like that. But but this movie's much lighter than that film.
Yeah.
It's much lighter than that film. And I think that's where the movie's relatively dated in that fact, because when you lighten up all of that, it leads to just like gross misogyny
Hmm.
constantly throughout the film. And that's one of the things that I think turns a lot of people off to it. Granted,
Hmm.
it is a film from 1962, so it doesn't excuse it, but that's kind of
Sure.
in that time frame. That's what you're going to get. Maurice Chevalier plays a singing priest in this film to give you a kind of sense of the lighter aspects of the movie. Maurice Chevalier, the famous musician and actor, uh, who was in the later part of his career at that time, is in this film. Like I said, as a singing priest, as someone who kind of is like a leader of the town, you know what I mean? Seen as a leader of the town because the church being a main figure in Italy. Not a big surprise. It's where Vatican City is and Rome and all this kind of stuff. It's got a history there of
A little bit.
Christianity. I don't know if you know it.
Some stuff. Yeah.
It's kind of like the capital of Christianity in the world.
Yes.
Italy, Rome, Vatican City, etc., etc. But so you can imagine what happens in this film is, chaos kind of ensues around her because of the way people react to her. The
Mm.
women don't like her because they think that, oh, she's trying to steal their husbands, she's being promiscuous, like Steven said, all this kind of stuff that's not true. But we know how rumors and things go. They kind of escalate and escalate. On the back here, you've got, of course, a picture of Angie Dickinson. On the front here, you got the artwork, which I think is really nice. She's Jessica. She's delectable. She's trouble. That's what it
Mm.
says. And then we open it up here.
Delectable.
Yeah, I know. And then we got, of course, the original poster art here with Angie Dickinson front and center. Yeah, you can see her here, and you can see, one of the women in the background giving the frowniest of frowny faces you could ever imagine. And like I said, Maurice Chevalier, Angie Dickinson, and Jessica opening up here. Once again, discard and the disc,
Ah,
and then of course you see Angie Dickinson as Jessica
yes.
right there. Unfortunately, this film doesn't have much in the way of special features. Um, all we have here is an audio commentary by screenwriter slash film historian C. Courtney Joyner, and then Angie Dickinson looking back interview with Angie Dickinson. That's it. That is it.
There you go.
That is it. I want to see who directed. Oh, this film is directed by Gene Negulesco. Gene Negulesco, who, if I remember correctly, has directed a kind of a career workman director. Let me just pull this up in 2 seconds. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, Johnny Belinda, Three Coins in the Fountain, kind of a bunch of those types of movies. Um, River of No Return, which I believe is he has an uncredited look at that, and that is the film with Marilyn Monroe and Robert Mitchum.
Mm.
I don't know. I know I have that in my collection, but yeah, that is Jessica, and that is 3 of the films that Imprint put out in August.
Yes. Yes. So, yeah, that's us catching up there. We'll hopefully have some more here. We'll try to be more on time with our future ones, but that is the last few months of some of the stuff that we got from Imprint. They're always putting out a lot of good stuff. They always seem to be able to get their hands on things that haven't really gotten Blu-ray releases yet. So, yeah, please. These are all recommends, I think. Please go if you're interested, go pick these up. These are all really great releases. Really good physical, not even just the content, but the physically, they're just always really solid. But that's it for this little review here for Imprint Films June through August in 2024. As usual, please subscribe to this page here, Chasing Labels. We got Chasing Labels every other week with Andrew here. He goes and runs down the releases from the past couple weeks. And then look out for the monthly Unwatched pile that will be usually the second, either the last week or the second to last week of the month. So that'll be coming up in the next few weeks. So with that said, Andrew, anything else before we go?
No, that is it. That is it.
All right.
We're good to go.
All right, guys. Well, enjoy this video, and hey, go watch some movies. Go watch some Imprint stuff. See you later.